Can you share, for those of us like learning about this for the first time, what is holistic psychology? What is the self-healers movement that is now millions and millions and millions of people strong?
I think, as often is the case with a journey of transformation, I think for a lot of us it begins with a low place. And for me, it was feeling really disempowered, training very traditionally with this idea that the mind can create change. I had a very traditional practice, doing a lot of talk therapy, seeing clients week after week, diving into insight, understanding their problems. Though what I continued to hear session after session was a lot of frustration from the clients that I was working with. And what I was feeling in my own life outside of the clinical room was a lot of disempowerment, a lot of frustration. And trying to really understand, for me, I'm a lifetime learner, as my dad likes to joke with me. I was wondering, why is it that I'm not being as impactful as a therapist? Why is it that I'm struggling repeating my own patterns in my personal relationships? And when I went online and discovered a whole new world of science that was not offered to me in my training program, science that included the body, our nervous system, nutrition, and really how powerful, in particular, our subconscious mind is, it opened so many doors for me. It inspired me to then begin to not only think about myself holistically. Yes, I have a powerful mind, though I'm also, for me, living in a body that's carrying a lot of trauma, a lot of dysregulation from my earliest experiences. And I, like most of us, are running on that blind autopilot, which allowed me to understand why the clients I was working with were struggling to, as I say, build that bridge from insight into action, or to really make use of the conversations we were having and the tools that we were having. And having gone on my own individual journey of change, incredible change, transformation, it inspired me to then update my practice. So really simply, holistic is honoring the powerful mind, the body that we're all living in, the physiological imbalances that are driving many of our repeated patterns.
I know you went to one of the top schools, more than one in the country. And here's what I want to ask you as you say this. For me, Nicole, when I was in my 30s and dreaming of changing the entire beauty industry, right? I had people tell me, you can't change the beauty industry. And I was walking into this industry of giants. And as you share this part of your story, I'm imagining you in 2017. How old were you then? When you were
in 2017, I was about 35.
35. So I want everyone listening to just put yourself in the spot right now. So you're 35. You've had some of the best training in the world, right? And there's all of this history in this massive industry of what psychotherapy looks like, of what it means to be a clinical psychologist. And you're thinking, this isn't it. This isn't it. And having that moment, because a lot of times, I just want to speak to especially every woman listening to this right now, we have these ideas and we realize, wait, well, maybe I could do this better or different. Maybe I could help more people because I'm frustrated that it's not helping me enough, or maybe it's not helping my patients enough. Was there a part of you that thought, who am I to think I could change an entire industry? Because you probably didn't know then that fast forward to right now, you would have millions and millions of people all around the globe saying that what they were doing maybe wasn't working with their therapy, or they're supplementing it now and kind of combining it with everything that you teach. And you've really created this movement and shifted an entire industry. So I just want to just ask you about that moment, because I think so many people have moments like this in their life where no matter what career they're in, no matter what creative field, where they think wait, maybe I could do it better or different, but then they doubt themselves out of their own destiny. So when you take yourself to 2017 and you're having these big ideas, could you ever imagine that you'd be sitting here right now talking about this global movement? How did you believe you were worthy of doing this? How did you do it? How did you take that chance? And I just want kind of everyone out there to put themselves in your shoes as you share this, because I think it's something that most of us maybe doubt ourselves out of, taking chances like this that could literally help so many people and change the world.
Before I can even entertain a thought like, who am I to do this very great thing that I could even see as being possible? And I think, again, I'm speaking possibly to a lot of the women listening in particular. There was a very conditioned pleaser part of me, people pleaser, that doubted my own truth for so long, even outside of my professional world, where of course I had to worry about, or I worried about what my colleagues would think, what everyone that came through a similar program would think. That now that I'm talking about all of these other subjects in my personal life, I had spent decades, three plus decades, watering down my true perspectives on certain things, especially within my family, being so disconnected from my emotions. Or if I was aware of what I was feeling in any given moment, I would suppress it, usually in concern of, or if I had an idea of what I needed in any given moment, I would play some tape forward in my head and then worry about how the person on the receiving end would experience me. Would I disappoint them? Would I upset them? So as I was coming to these new truths that I was living in action and creating incredible transformation in my life, particularly around my experience of anxiety, which by that point I had thought, this would just be something I always experienced, and being able to change and knowing in that kind of guttural soul place, wow, Nicole, this is really helping you. That conditioning was so strong. I played that tape forward.
You were practicing and running your practice traditionally with patients, and you started applying holistic psychology to yourself and seeing transformation in your own life first. Yes. And then were you walking into your office doing traditional talk therapy?
So I was walking into my office doing traditional talk therapy, and at the same time I was beginning to explore conceptually how I might teach these concepts to others to be able to ultimately use with my clients. And because it was starting to feel really inauthentic that I wasn't sharing, once I had started to make the progress I was making, I started to feel like, I need to have these conversations, especially with some particular clients that I knew would be open to it. So I was very honest. As I started at the same time seeing my online platform develop, the community develop, seeing and hearing the need for these holistic kind of models and desire to work with me one-on-one, I started to open up some sessions. So I was doing holistic work at the same time. And then because I didn't feel in alignment, I spoke directly to the clients that I was seeing traditionally and let them know what I was doing, imagining that some might happen upon my account and be like, what is this? What is she talking about here? And knowing it could be of value, though ultimately I let the client determine whether or not it was something they were comfortable in continuing to hear about, whether they wanted to talk a little more practically about applying some of the tools, and some did. And some very much were more interested in just having that space to be supportive, to get the traditional talk therapy. So I honored those arrangements until I got to the point of really wanting to transition over really fully and completely to doing the holistic work.
For people that have been maybe in traditional therapy for a long time, because I know in any industry or as things evolve and as things change, it's not always met with open arms. And I just remember personally, even inside the beauty industry, growing, trying to do a company differently and try to, for us, we were trying to be inclusive of real people and all the things we were trying to do different. It was met with so much opposition for a while. Until it wasn't, and then eventually, so many of the people said it would never work, or all those kind of things. Then they're doing it themselves, and it's just this evolution, and you can see it across different industries. And so, when it comes to you entering this creating this whole new space, this whole new offering in a very traditional industry, what can you just share with people, just big picture, if they are in therapy right now, and maybe it's traditional talk therapy, what would you say is the difference between that and what you do? And what is the difference between that and the self-healing movement? And without throwing too many questions out at once, just can you combine the two and be successful?
So traditional talk therapy, and again, I do believe most of us need that safe space to talk about whatever happened, whatever is happening, whatever we wish to happen in the future. Holistic, again, includes the body. And I think another component of holistic work for me includes the very simple reality that to create change, because so much of us is wired into this autopilot that we're repeating day in and day out. So many of our habits, that is. To create change, we really do have to empower ourselves to make new choices each and every day. So the way I think of holistic is understanding that the reason why we struggle to change, even though we have an incredible capacity to create change at any point of our life. And I do want listeners to hear that, because it saddens me when I hear people, especially older in years, who are like, oh, I can't change. It's impossible for me. And that's just simply not physiologically true. We can change at any time. Most of us, though, are stuck because we are repeating patterns that at one point were protective. And so the concern and what I would see play out is when we were continuing just to talk about problems or not apply those action steps, or not equipped ourselves to understand that change, even if it is in a positive direction, will create resistance. It will create discomfort. While we can change, our body feels protected in our old habits, even those that don't serve us. So it's applying these new small choices that we can make day in and day out, which in my opinion need to include our body, need to, for many of us, include expanding our body's ability to tolerate from the natural stress of change, to, for many of us, shedding identities, becoming a new person, all of the fears and concerns that come along with dynamically then changing in these embedded relational networks that so many of us have found ourselves operating in for so long. So that is, I think, the biggest shift between traditional and holistic work. Self-healing, in my opinion, is really just empowering the self, the individual, as the main active participant. So even for those of us who have access to these helpful clinicians or therapists or supportive coaches, it is us each and every day that's waking up, that's either, dropping back and blindly going on our autopilot throughout the day, or remaining committed to creating new choices in our mind and in our body. And it also, I think, applies to the many of us who have been made to doubt our own intuition, our own instincts. I think for me, like a lot, we go into a supportive place and we almost squash our own knowing, right? We assume that someone, because they have letters after their name, and this applies outside of even the traditional psychology field. I've seen it in the medical field. I've seen it in my own family, seeking medical treatment. This idea that someone else knows better than what I know to be true. So self-healing, I hope to be a movement of empowerment where we can learn how to be the active participant that we need to be to create incredible change and incredible transformation in our life. And absolutely, a lot of people in my community membership, Self-Healer Circle, have access to the supportive professionals, are in therapy themselves, and are also engaging in community-based healing, which became such a priority for me as I was creating the platform on Instagram and seeing how global the community was, how many people were living the same struggles and empowering themselves to change in the same ways. I became acutely aware of the lack of accessibility, especially outside of the States, the United States here. So for me, knowing that not everyone will have access to the helping professionals or to the financial resources to be able to utilize those services, community-based healing is number one a priority, in addition to free and accessible content on my social media pages.
After reading so many stories out there, so many testimonials out there, there are so many people saying that they have shaved years off of their healing journey by doing this, by combining their self-healing with the access that they have to traditional therapy. And so just to kind of clarify this as well, because I think with anything new, with anything that's shifting things forward, there's always confusion out there. And so when it comes to the self-healers movement, you're not saying stop your traditional therapy, you're saying whether it's in addition to, or if it's what you have access to, here's how to take power into your own hands.
100%. I appreciate, Jamie, you bringing that up, because I do see misinterpretations, actually to the extent where people have believed me to be cited saying, don't go to therapy. And that's never a statement that would come out of my mouth. I truly believe we all need a safe, secure relationship somewhere. Though, again, not all of us have access to it. And actually, when I began my healing journey and discovered all of the ways I was suppressing my wants and needs, like I was describing earlier, and needing to create space. And I made the very difficult choice to separate, to take some time away from my family of origin. It ended up being about a year and a half for me to just begin to rediscover who I was outside of those very enmeshed, codependent relationships where I didn't know who I was outside of the function I played in my family, which was a lot of reliance my family had on me for a very long time. And after that period of separation, we reunited in a family therapist office. That's where my family very gratefully took my exit to be an inspiration for them to do some of their own self-reflection, some of their own beautiful work in healing and creating changes in their own individual relationships and their own dynamics as a family. And then we all made the shared decision to reintegrate and to explore new dynamics, new boundaries moving forward that would better work for all of us, allow us all to be in a deeper, more authentic relationship. And we did so in a therapist office. So therapy, I think, can be incredibly beneficial. Again, I also know not all of us have access to it. And I know there are so many hours outside of that 1 hour that many of us get in a therapy room where these habits and patterns live and are coloring our lives.
Jamie Kern Lima is her name.
Everybody needs Jamie Kern Lima in their life.
Jamie Kern Lima.
Jamie, you're so inspiring.
Jamie Kern Lima.